I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask Podcast Live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in for our Thursday special. And it is very special today. I have two wonderful people with us today to talk about the housing moratorium and lead poisoning in the homes. So I don't want to waste a lot of time with my introduction. I want to introduce a returning guest, Ruth Johnson from the CDC, and she has brought along a gentleman guest, Chase Cantrell, and we will both be talking about these situations dealing with the moratorium and lead poisoning in the homes. So first, let's start off with Ruth Johnson. How are you today?
I am great. It's a great day in the neighborhood.
That sounds familiar. Thank you. Now, Ruth, you came to and joined us a couple of times, but, let's refresh people who you are and what your role is at the CDC.
First of all, let me just thank you, Marsha, and your whole team for this opportunity to share useful, practical, helpful information with your listeners and watchers. My name is Ruth Johnson. I am the Public Policy Director for a nonprofit organization called CDAD, Community Development Advocates of Detroit. And CDAD does not provide any direct services or programs. Instead, we help our 200 members across the city of Detroit help Detroiters and Detroit stakeholders have a great life in great places. So our members include Chase and building community value, as well as block clubs, neighborhood associations, community development organizations, and the like. So again, we do great work only because of our members, our partners, and our stakeholders.
Okay. Well, Ruth, would you turn it over to Chase, introduce Chase to us so we'll know who he is, and Chase, you can jump right in there after Ruth introduces you.
So Chase Cantrell is the Executive Director of Building Community Value. We share something in common. We both practice law for a period of time, but we're also now involved in using our experience, our skills, our expertise in the area of housing, community development, and it's my pleasure to introduce Chase. Welcome, Chase.
Welcome, Chase.
Well, thank you, Ruth, and thank you, Marsha. It's a pleasure to be here with both of you. And as you said in the introduction, I'm the Executive Director of Building Community Value. It's an organization based in Detroit. We walk alongside Detroiters who want to own property in their own neighborhood. So we hear a lot about development happening to us. There's a lot of development happening downtown in the greater downtown area, across the city, but there are Detroiters throughout our city who want to do their own rehab work, who want to own property on their block, in their neighborhood, and we teach Detroiters how to do that. So we teach the nuts and bolts of real estate development to residents. We help them with resources. During their projects, we give them information, link them up with financial institutions, help them with city processes, et cetera. So we're really walking alongside visionaries in our neighborhoods to reimagine and bring our neighborhoods back to life.
Okay, all right. I'm glad a lot of people will be willing to take heed to some of this information that you guys are providing for us today. So Ruth, I want to start off with the question with you. What's going on with the paying rent and eviction in the city of Detroit?
There's a lot going on. As you know, a lot of people are suffering. Even with our federal stimulus checks and unemployment, people have lost their jobs, hours reduced. They or someone in their family may have had COVID. They might have even suffered a loss of a family or a friend. So I don't minimize what people are going through. However, both our federal, state, and local government and policymakers are aware of what people are experiencing, and there is help available. People just have to ask. So the first thing is the Center for Disease Control, you might have heard it called CDC, issued a moratorium, meaning stopping the ability for landlords to evict tenants based upon non-payment, not paying your rent. Now, that doesn't mean if you break the lease by breaking a window, you may still, get in trouble for that. But we're talking about rent. And what's important for people to know, you're still obligated, legally obligated to pay rent. This is talking about being evicted because you didn't pay rent. Now, some people can't pay rent, or it's a choice between getting food, medication, paying other bills, and paying rent. So they've got to make some choices. But if you are able to pay rent, even partial payment, we encourage you to do what you can do. But also know there's help. So with the CDC moratorium, that goes through June 30 of this year. But you know what? Our federal courts, they rule. As lawyers, we know courts say and make rulings. So there's a federal court that has ruled that the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, did not have the authority, the legal power to issue a stop to evictions. But you know what? The Biden administration, I'm not being political, I'm just talking about the current president, his administration has filed an appeal. And during the appeal, they've asked for a stay, which is, again, a legal word. A stay is like, just stay put. Nobody do none. So don't lose hope. Don't get upset. I'm going to ask you to stay put. Don't make plans to move or do anything else because of one federal court made a ruling.
So Ruth, let me ask you this. So what can a tenant do and what can a landlord do? There's still two main issues on the table. One is the tenant is saying, well, I have nowhere to go and I don't have the money. The landlord is saying, but before the pandemic, you were here, we were doing what we had to do, and I still need to get paid something. So what's on the table as far as like between what can the landlord and versus the tenant do?
So there is help, relief and help for both landlords and tenants under the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Program. You might hear it called CERA, C-E-R-A, not the girl's name. We're talking CERA is a government program, but working very closely with attorneys and courts and service providers and a great variety of community partners, including CDAD, to make sure people know what's available and ask for that help. Again, I'm going to use the name of the show. You got to ask, but
just ask. Okay. Okay. Well, I think we have that. Do we have that information? So let's go to Ruth's information because we're going to bring it up a couple of times. So, okay. So Ruth, that's your contact information. And let's see, we have page 2 to look at. Okay. So is that where Sarah is? Okay.
Yeah, that's Sarah. So
okay.
The assistance and release resources for tenant and landlords, it's called CERA. So if you're in Detroit, Highland Park, or Hamtramck, we would ask you to contact the helpline 866-313-2520. Or if you have access to the internet and you feel comfortable with it, you can go to DetroitEvictionHelp.com. And that will start you not just getting help with back rent, but future rent, utilities. That's electricity, heating, water, and sewage. But get this, even your internet bill.
No, stop.
Yeah, I play with this. This is serious.
Did you say
for a lot of people, especially during this pandemic, internet is like any other utility. That if you don't have it, your life, the quality of your life, or your ability to even preserve your life is greatly affected. So if you're outside of the Detroit area, you can go to the Michigan State Housing and Development Authority website, MISHDA, and through that, you can find out in your county or your city how to get help. Again, it's going to be called CERA across the state of Michigan, the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Program.
Okay.
Eligibility guidelines, but just know, make the call, go online. And it also includes legal resources, meaning if, this is important, listen up. You don't have to have a notice to quit. You don't have to have a court case to be evicted. You can ask for help even before you get to that point. And I encourage people, ask now. Even though it seems like, oh, we got this moratorium, woo-hoo, ask now.
Yeah, don't wait till the last minute, people. Pass the word on. Okay, and so Ruth, I have to say you gave a wealth of information and support, and I'm hoping people will take heed to what you just said. So we're going to bring that back up shortly, but we want to switch over to Chase right quick. So Chase, now Ruth is telling us about the landlord and tenant's current situation, but your business is in reference to lead poisoning,
That's
pretty
right.
much. Can you give us some insight on that?
Sure. So Building Community Value has just received a grant from the Herb Family Foundation to begin to do research in the city of Detroit regarding the presence of lead in rental units throughout the city. So we're going to be talking to small scale landlords, which is most of our units in the city, to understand how they're doing lead abatement, if they even know what the standards are, how they're talking to their tenants about it. Do they have the proper clearances with the city to show that they've actually gone through the lead assessment process to make sure that we have safe, quality housing in the city of Detroit?
So
So
I'm sorry, I was going to ask you, along with that, what's going on with the foreclosures in Detroit? Because, it's one thing we saying lead there, but, some people are like, well, wait a minute, I had this house for over 50 years and now it's under foreclosure and it does have lead in it too. So, I'm sorry, go ahead and finish your statement and go on to that foreclosure question.
to talk about foreclosures a bit, so our county treasurer in Wayne County has asked for a stay on foreclosures for occupied properties only. So only occupied properties through March of 2022. So for the next little bit under a year, there will be no foreclosures for occupied properties in Wayne County. However, for unoccupied units, vacant land, commercial property, will be foreclosures in the city of Detroit. And what I often like to mention to folks is that there's still a systemic issue of that pipeline of homes and properties going into the foreclosure process year after year after year. And really hats off to Ruth and CDAD and other community partners who are really pushing back, saying that we really need to find a systemic fix so that we don't have houses going into the foreclosure process in the first place. But at least during the pandemic, we have another year where folks who are living in homes won't be foreclosed on.
So go ahead, Ruth.
Can I add something? Another thing that people don't realize, and I hope people who hear this will either use it for themselves or pass the information along. Many times people can get a tax exemption. If they're seniors, a person with disabilities, veterans, or different things, you can file something with the either City of Detroit Tax Assessor's Office or the Wayne County Treasurer's Office, so you can have the amount of taxes you're supposed to pay reduced. Mm-hmm. There are also some programs, if people are behind in their taxes or know they're going to, their property taxes, and know they don't have the money presently to pay, to reduce or the monthly payment and the total amount. But again, I encourage people to contact the Wayne County Treasurer's Office or the City of Detroit Tax Assessor's Office and ask for help.
A lot of seniors are oblivious to some of these things. And it's sad because they've been in the homes for, like I said, 60, 70 years and still paying the same rental, property tax amounts, and don't ever see that they can get a break due to their change in income, their age. It's a lot of stuff that's on the table. And then some of the family members may not even think about it. It's my mother's house and she's been there for 70 years, but mom's still paying taxes, which she could be tax exempt. And so it would be encouraging to have family members call and, check this out to see if mom, dad, whoever is eligible for the tax exemptions, or even if it's a lower rate, because you can't get 100% exemption, you can get a partial exemption. And that's possible too.
And just to piggyback on that, so about a month ago, we learned that here in the city of Detroit, there's a local foundation who's paying $15 million to actually eradicate back taxes for folks who have property exemptions and have been unable to pay in past years. So if you already have a property tax exemption or you believe that you are eligible for one in the city of Detroit, contact Wayne Metro is the organization. In fact, this $15 million, not enough Detroiters are applying for it. So, if you suspect that you or a family member might be eligible, call Wayne Metro or call the tax assessor's office. You may be able to get rid of those back taxes completely.
So Chase, what are some of the resources for rehabbing a home? Are any resources available for rehabbing a home?
Sure. So one of the first is our organization, Building Community Value. So there are residents in the city who have a passion for rehab or who want to see their neighborhoods improved. They come through our organization. We actually take them through a 3-month training where we teach them, about financing, about finding contractors and architects and permits and processes. So that's one place to stop. Another is called Brick and Beam. So whereas we teach sort of high level how you think about the money in the process, Brick and Beam teaches how you actually do the work. How do you install a window? How do you replace a floor? How do you do tile? Detroit Training Center for folks who really, really want to go in depth and get a contractor's license or take some more intense classes. They do some really in-depth work. And then just thinking on the financing level, there aren't enough financing products for folks who want to do rehabs in the city, but there are a few financial institutions called CDFIs, Community Development Financial Institutions, who are willing to be in the space and give rehab loans for folks who want to do this work. So if we can go to that slide, there are
I'm going to ask you, I think we got your information. So let's bring up Chase information, because a lot of people saying, how do I get that? So, okay, so we have a page 2 for Chase's information. Let's see if we can get that up. And okay, so there it is, Clear Corp Detroit.
Well, for the rehab, it's the small scale development resources. So
Okay.
Opportunity Resource Fund at opfund.org, and then the Detroit Development Fund.com. So those are 2 CDFIs here in the city. They're based in Detroit, who are beginning to do more and more of those kinds of rehab loans for folks who want to do this sort of small scale development in neighborhoods.
Okay. And I think that's very encouraging. Is it Brick and Beam? Is it Brick and Beam?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I thought it was food for a second, forgive me. But I think it's encouraging to have, especially young couples starting out, to want to buy a home and get it for, little or nothing. They say, we're going to fix this up. Instead of spending a lot of money trying to get the contractors, take the course and learn as much as possible and do what you can yourselves before you have to go to the contractors, or at least understand contractors' rules and regulations. And that, I think that's the plus. I remember my mom and dad fixed up every house we lived in. And I'm like, oh, I thought when you move in the house, you just move in the house. They were painting, they were plastering, they were doing all kinds of stuff. So it's an extra plus to have a young couple or persons, period, who are comfortable in doing rehab to a home to keep it up to date as much as possible, and seek fundings to support their efforts so that it doesn't take a long time to get this house up to par.
That's right, and it's not just I just bought a house as well in Detroit on the Northwest Side, and I'm going through that process, right? Getting the walls painted, getting the floors redone, all that. But what's wonderful is to see folks who are doing it one time and then realizing that they can turn it into a business, that they can support themselves by supporting their neighborhoods. And we see a lot of young Black folk in the city of Detroit who are wanting to do that work. They're passionate about it, and there are more and more resources for them to actually be able to learn how to do that.
I just wanted to add, in addition to individuals or small developers, we also have nonprofits that do home repair, home rehab, preserve currently affordable and accessible housing so it can continue to be used for that. They assist people with home buying classes and lots of different services to keep people in their homes, but to keep people in homes that are good to live in, up to code. And there can be a lot of reasons people get into wanting to learn how to develop their house, rehab a house. It may be Big Mama passed and they inherit the house. Yeah. They might now want to rent it out, and they have the intention of being a good landlord. But some of our CDAD members are nonprofits that actually build and manage senior housing, veteran housing, affordable housing, whether that's single family or multiple units in a building. There are so many different options. The problem though, Marcia, there's just not enough units, enough options for enough people.
But Ruth, I think what it is the information that you all are giving today sometimes comes too late for another individual. I mean, this platform here will hopefully springboard more interesting people to say, hey, I got to call this number. And we're going to bring those numbers back up and everything. But, a lot of people say, I wish I could find some money. I wish I knew somebody. It's always a wish list, but when does that information come forth? Now, let me ask you this. So the information you guys gave out today, especially the different organizations, are these programs or grants available all year long, or are they seasonal? Because that's some of the issues that I think are on the table. When should a person be looking for grants or programs to take, classes to take? When type of the year? Do either one of you want to, expound on that?
So I'll start. For a lot of the rehab courses, it's year round.
Okay.
So BCV, Brick and Beam, Detroit Training Center all offer along different schedules classes year round. For things like tax foreclosure, understanding about eviction, et cetera, people often wait too late because those deadlines are not just readily known by most folks in the public. So it really behooves anyone watching the program to find out now, right? If you don't know if your taxes are up to date, if a family member's taxes are up to date, where you are in a process with foreclosure or eviction, ask now and start the process.
I would add, there's also advocacy opportunities. Although it's important for individuals to be informed and educated and take action and ask questions, there's some larger systemic and structural issues when it comes to how do we get information to people in the ways that they can use it.
Yeah.
For most of us, it's not a one time, you tell me one time and I get it, I understand it. There is so much on people's plates. But also, I think during the pandemic, we've relied on digital communication. And with only 40% of Detroit households having access to broadband internet in their homes, doing digital, yes, I understand people have phones, but it's quite different trying to fill out a tax exemption form on your phone. And then some people, because of whatever disability they have, that's just not going to be an option. The other thing is what CDAD and other community groups is work with the city, how better to get information out, how to make the forms better. The tax exemption form had been long and complicated, and we and others helped them to simplify it. For example, one of our advocacy wins, and I think it's a big win, if you were a senior last year over 65, I bet this year you're a senior over 65. So you shouldn't have to go ahead, Marcia, you know you want to laugh, but why should you fill out the same form? So now you can just do a short form, just attesting I'm still over 65 and my income hasn't changed. And you don't have to get it notarized. For a lot of people, getting things notarized is just a big hurdle hump. And when people say, just scan this and send it to me, that's for a lot of people like, but also it's understanding people trust the people they trust. They go to the people they go to. So it's not always the call this hotline, this helpline. It's, I'm going to go to my neighbor, my friend, my pastor, my priest, my imam, whoever you trust. And we've got to make sure we provide the information to people who are likely going to be asked, even if they're not a housing advocate, development specialist, or whomever.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to put you guys' information up again. So Ruth, we're going to start with your information because we want people to be able to reach out to you. So ladies and gentlemen, if you see on the screen, Community Development Advocates of Detroit, please write this information down, the website and the phone number, and Public Policy Director Ruth Johnson will be more than glad to take on to some of your questions that you have. And you can always go to us as well, the Just As Talk Show. So, and the second page for Ruth's information, now a lot of you need to know if you're trying to find out some more information about landlord and tenants' rights, and you see Wayne County Treasurer, Stop Foreclosure 2021, take this information down. If you're not sure, call the number. A lot of times people are not sure how to ask a question. No question is a dumb question, ladies and gentlemen. Always remember that. Just get it out. Say, hey, I'm having problems with my bills, or I don't know if I can pay my back taxes, something, and see if that person can help you get that information correctly said over. Now I want to go to Chase information, and Chase, yours as well. Person may want to call you and find out about, the lead program and some training programs that you guys also offer or share with other agencies. So let's go to Chase second page of information. Okay. So lead resource, that's very important because I hope someone recognize that you've been living in this house, like I said, for umpteen years, and some children may be affected by lead or whatever have you, and you need to at least get that looked into and see if there's something that can be changed over or updated. So hopefully we'll get this information out to everyone who's watching today and beyond. And ladies and gentlemen, the viewers, give us a call, 1-800-323-5336, 1-800-323-5336. If you have a question for Ruth Johnson or Chase Cantrell, we'll be more than glad to forward those questions to them.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving.
Now, you two, I mean, I really like to stay a little longer. This is not the end, because this is so important in the here and now and in the future, that I'm hoping that people who watch the show today and further on will at least understand that there is a lot of resources out there that can help. People are just sitting still and praying. And I think a program like this is answering the prayer. Okay, so Chase, will you come back?
I will.
Okay. Now, Chase, when you come back, you're gonna bring somebody else with you. Okay. Okay. It's gonna be me, you, Ruth, and somebody else. So we like to have as many partners as possible providing the information. And Ruth, you're always welcome to come back. And thank you so much for always being there for us. Any last minute questions or comments before we go?
The only thing that I would just add is that Detroit is about to get $800 million from the federal government and hasn't yet decided how to spend that money. The process has already gotten underway with the mayor and with city council. So people need to plug into that process to advocate for the things that you and your neighbors need. Okay, and so when you say they need to plug in, do they call the city of Detroit, or what should they do? You can call the mayor's office, or you can attend city council meetings. And during public comment, discuss the sorts of things that you want city council to prioritize. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard what he said, and that number is at the bottom of the screen. If you have any questions, if you're not certain about what you should do, please contact these lovely two people right here, Ruth Johnson and Chase Cantrell. Thank you both. I look forward to having you join us again.
Thank you, Marsha.
Okay, well, I'm your host, Marsha Florence with Just Ask. And what do I always say? If you know a person with a disability, or if you just have a general question, don't be afraid to ask. Just ask. I'm your host. See you next time.